evening. My name is Tony Jones, and you are tuned in to The Coalition, where we talk about all sides of local, regional, and national politics, news, and current events. Online at coalitionradio.us, on Facebook, facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, and of course, now on the almighty Twitter at Coalition_Radio. It's great to be back here in the seat, and I am in studio with my old pal, my co-host, the PO Taxpayer.
Hey now.
Good evening.
Oh, living the dream, buddy. Living the Halloween dream.
Christine is going to be with us shortly, as is Mike Stenhouse, Rhode Island Center for Freedom and Prosperity. A lot going on, a lot to talk about. I just want to mention at the top of the hour, I hope you can join us on Friday, November 1st at Manchester 65 in West Warwick, Rhode Island for Liberty Drinks. It's going to be a networking night, and it is going to be a good old time. And then last time I was here, I talked a little bit about a project I'm working on called Rhode Island Free Radio. I did a soft launch. That sounds filthy. I did a soft launch this week, so you can check out rifreeradio.org. Do that after the show. I don't want you to tune out of this show to go check that out, of course, but rifreeradio.org. I'm excited about that. Not that I need something else to do, P.O., but...
Well, clearly, all that time you've been wasting sleeping all these years.
So what's going on out there? Woonsocket. We love Woonsocket here on this show.
Quite frankly, I think we need to move the studio up to Wooney. Because
that's a scary thought.
I think we spend more time calling quality news in Wooney than the two stations in Wooney do. And believe it or not, Woonsocket does have two high-quality Woonsocket radio stations.
They do, actually, yeah.
And they both do a nice enough job. But what raised my hackles, if you will, was that and the hair, what's left at the back of my neck, was... And I'm a libertarian. I mean, we wear it on our sleeve in this show. I'm the libertarian. My Green Party compadre, Christine, has just arrived.
Hello, P.O.
Hi. Well, here's an issue, I think, and our mantra on the show is we talk about how Green Party people and Libertarian Party people want the same thing. We just are arriving there at different ways. So, a few weeks ago, we were nice enough to have Dave Fisher on the air, who spoke...
No, I think Dave Fisher was nice enough to come on the air.
No, we were nice enough. Wow. But, we talked about some of the problems in Woonsocket that are fairly well known. Well, there's a whole heck of a lot of civic spirit in Woonsocket. So you've got this great couple, Dave and Charlene, who have converted their house on Blackstone Street, and they've been, for a number of years, into a haunted house attraction. And they don't do it for profit. They do it for a love of Halloween and a love of the community. And the entrance fee is startling. It's a can of food. And it goes to benefit one of the local food kitchens in Woonsocket. And we all know here in Rhode Island that we've got a number of great organizations that are fulfilling an exponentially increasing demand for food as we go into the winter months. So what could be better? You've got folks who are covering all the expenses out of their own personal pocket. It's hometown pride for a hometown organization. But no, because clearly Woonsocket has everything together. Now, with all their other problems solved, they've decided to come down with the heavy hand on these folks. And it's just kind of sad, because I can remember, I'm old enough, because I'm the elder statesman on this show, to remember a time when if there was an issue with a setup like this, whether it be mechanical or electrical, people from the town, the municipality, would kind of just show up and kick in and kind of make things right. But we don't do that anymore.
Right.
We issue a summons. So these folks were faced with a cease and desist order at the end of last week, which they blissfully ignored. God bless these people.
That's my kind of folks.
I'd look adversity right in the eye and say, screw. Now, and I had the opportunity to speak with them a couple of times this weekend, just wonderful people. And if you ask anybody from Wooney, they've been doing it for a lot of years, and a lot of people have a lot of fun. And now, instead of being... and literally, by the way, when I say cease and desist, the town of Woonsocket told them, we're just going to shut your utilities off. Wow, isn't that neighborly?
And why this year? Why didn't they complain last year or any of the years before? If it's such a horrible thing, why have they been asleep at the wheel all this time?
Well, they claim they extended it a little bit. It's become a little bit more of a structure. It's on their existing home. you probably had the proverbial neighbor whine and complain. Someone somewhere tried to ruin it. By the way, just as an aside, in their Facebook page is what, Fears for Food, Tony? Fear for Food. So please like their Facebook page because
please go to their haunted house.
Well, absolutely. I mean, they're closing in on 1,000 pounds of food. Now let's think about that for a second. A couple people on their own, seeing a problem, addressing it on their own. Mm-hmm. And raising that kind of food just for the sheer love of community. Yeah,
and think about how nice that headline is for Woonsocket.
Right.
When was the last time you opened the paper and saw something really awesome about Woonsocket?
It's sadly, it's been a while.
Yeah.
And these are very realistic people, too. They're not... the prior administration, Susan Menard, loved to ignore the fact that there were problems. And just, I'll never forget her ignoring a couple of charity functions, but being there for the grand opening of a Starbucks in Woonsocket, which lasted, I think, at least 3 or 4 months.
Right, because people are not lining up for $4 lattes in the town of Woonsocket.
Exactly. So if you have a chance, first of all, the easy way is to like their page. That just kind of sends a shout out if you don't live locally, or if you hear this on podcast, send a shout out to these people because they need your moral support. More importantly, they also need your financial support. So go by. It's at 604 Blackstone Street. They're open most nights from 6 to 9. Check their Facebook page because if there's a weather advisory, they're on top of their game here. And also, listen, bring a can for heck. Right now, I can tell you, Stop and Shop is doing cans of Progresso for 88 cents. So cough up $4 or $5 and bring 5 or 6 cans of food.
Yeah, that's a good deal. And Progresso is fairly healthy food.
Right.
So
and tell them the coalition sent you.
That's right.
Facebook.com/fear for food. Don't bring ramen noodles though.
Yeah, that's not good for anybody.
I mean, that's just not right.
Or those terrible fried onions in a can. Bring some hearty, good food.
I got my scouting for food bag this weekend, and I unfortunately did donate. Well, let's just say that food doesn't go to waste much around my house.
Because there's no fear of food in this station right here.
Wait, scouting for food? You mean like the Boy Scouts?
Yeah, they what they do is they go around, they bring an empty bag, then they'll pick it up the weekend later.
I'm picturing you now as the world's biggest Boy Scout. Those of you who don't know Tony, he towers above mere mortals.
Were you ever a Cub Scout?
I was a Cub Scout.
Not a Cub, a Cub Scout.
I was a Boy Scout. And
now he's like a bear. He's like,
it's one of my big regrets is not making Eagle Scout, but as soon as I got
a lot of work.
As soon as I got a driver's license, and as soon as I figured out what the cannabis leave was, that was the end of my Boy Scout career. I only made it to like tenderfoot or something like that.
It's my hope that someday cannabis cultivation could be a Boy Scout badge.
That could be a fantastic.
I don't know why you're laughing. I mean,
right after the Grateful Dead badge.
Well, there are all different varieties of cannabis. They're not all meant to be psychoactive. They're the ones that help people eat when they have cancer.
And listen to our PSA.
Listen to our PSA. It's a good PSA. It's a little overly dramatic, but it makes a good point.
Well, on that note, as our horrified guest looks at us and says, "My God, what have I done?"
Edging out of the room here.
Quick, close the door. No! Last week they got away. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you a name that probably a lot of Rhode Islanders know already, and that's Mike Stenhouse. Mike Stenhouse is the CEO for the Rhode Island Center for Freedom and Prosperity. He also, and in keeping with this week's theme, actually, he made it to the show. Played in the big time, as a member of our Boston Red Sox. First of all, I have to ask you the question that's on the tip of everyone's mind in Rhode Island. What was up with last night's call? Legit?
I didn't like it.
Didn't like it.
I didn't like it. Well, 3 reasons. First of all, thank you. Welcome. Good to laugh. Good to be on air and laugh for once. My goodness, so many serious policy stuff we talk about. So thanks for that. I mean, it was messed up all around. I mean, first of all, Sultan Lamacchia never should have made the throw. Middleburg should have caught the throw. But here's my beef with the call. If you look at the replay, Craig was not in the base path when he tripped over. The ruling is there's interference if you're in the base path, but he was, in my opinion, he was not in the base path. And I can tell you, we're trained as base runners. Mm-hmm. When you're in a no-win situation, try to
not
get try to get contact with the defender so you can get the call.
Okay.
That's what they teach you when you're like in a rundown. So I don't know that he did it on purpose, but he was not in the base path.
I heard one baseball wag respond that supposedly you create your own base path.
Yeah, that's the argument. But so that's the argument. But I can't imagine the Middlebrooks has to get out of that way, though. Tough interpretation. Tough. Can't win.
And the tough part about last night is that that's a play that either gets obscured in a Red Sox 6 or 7 game series win, or goes down to, I think, one of the worst jokes in New England history. Christine, I'll ask you, what do Michael Jackson and Bill Buckner have in common? They both wear one glove for no apparent reason.
Oh, I like it.
Sorry.
It's much better than any of the Michael Jackson jokes.
Okay. we are on an FCC.
Yeah,
but let me tell you the joke that Bill Buckner gave to me himself about that.
Okay.
He said he was so distraught after the game, after seeing the reaction of his wife and the other Red Sox family, that right outside of Shea Stadium, he just wanted to end it all there. He ran out in the street to get hit by a bus, and it went through his legs.
No!
Nice. It's a great joke.
But by the way, I believe I saw Bill Buckner is back in baseball. I think he's coaching in the actually in the Western Mass League.
Bill Buckner's a great guy. He's a great baseball player. When I way before this happened, when I first went into the National League at the Expos in 1982, you know how you come home and your friends say, "What was the toughest pitch you faced? Who was the best hitter you saw?" Best hitter I saw was Bill Buckner on the Cubs. The guy could just flat out rake the ball. The guy could hit. The Red Sox, we saw him, hampered with half an ankle out of 2.
Right.
But the guy could just flat out hit.
People have pointed out very fairly that he didn't lose the game for them. They were an incremental. A game is made up of many, many moments, and the fact that his happens to be one that sticks in people's memories is unfortunate for him.
Any Legrand Orange stories as a member of the Expos?
Oh, I knew Rusty pretty well, though.
Yeah.
Went to his... I got to know Rusty very well. Ran some Expos fantasy camps, and Rusty's a great guy. He ran a restaurant. I think it was a ribs place down in New York after he played for the Mets. So I don't have any great stories, but I can tell you he's a great guy.
Right. I'm from that other city.
Yeah.
That other team.
Toronto?
No, that other city down south, a couple hundred miles, the real self-absorbed one. And that other team down. Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about freedom and prosperity tonight.
They go together,
I in some places I've heard that. Places I've lived. It's fair to say that the Freedom and Prosperity Center is no longer just 0% sales tax anymore. I think early on you became identified with that issue because it is a real linchpin. It's an emotional issue as well. It's something that people face every day. But we've got the beauty of the show is we've got some time to flesh out some issues. So people hear about you, they hear about your organization, they hear about 0%. They hear about people like Jan Malik selling it out. I'm sorry. Talk about the evolution of the center itself. Tell us a little bit about that. Give us some meat on that.
Well, I was actually brought in to try to save an existing think tank. First of all, we're part of a national network called the State Policy Network. There's about 64 now. You call yourselves libertarians. Some go conservative, some go green. We just call ourselves free market. We just believe that that's where freedom and prosperity comes. We believe the freer people can be, the freer businesses can be, the more they'll prosper and the better it is for society. That's just our belief. And get government out of the way, largely. You can't all the way, obviously. So anyway, I was brought into the movement about 3 years ago to try to save an existing think tank. That didn't work, so we started a whole new one just over 2 years. In fact, October, we're celebrating our 2nd anniversary. So... Sure, we purchased a very expensive modeling tool with regard to 0-0, and our role is to change the debate, change the status quo in this state, because we believe the status quo is the enemy of this state's future, and too many people just want to sit here, as bad as things are, and just not change a thing. And we disagree.
Whine, complain, vent,
and then do nothing.
Right.
I mean, think of all the talk we heard before this session, right, on economic development being number one and moving the needle and making it happen and all that kind. I mean, nothing happened.
Someday when we get our sound effects in, my favorite response to that would be Charlie Brown's teacher.
Yeah.
Wah, wah,
there
wah,
you go. Exactly right. And this is the talking heads. This is the political class. So we take a different approach. We're going to recommend things that really will matter, that will make a big difference. So we